What's up, Renegade Nation? Before we begin the video, I'd like to give a big shout out to our most recent Patreon supporters, Canadian Caesar, Blue Rat 138, and Luis Henriquez. Thank you very much for your support, and if you want to support us on Patreon, click the link below in the description to find out more. Thanks again. Okay, it's been a while since we've been back to these, but you know what? Damn it, we're on it again. And we are back at doing the kill counts of the Nightmare on Elm Street series. We are now continuing with A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Now, this is where a lot of people really started to get tired of the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
It's weird to me that this movie came out the year I was born.
Yeah. Well, it's... I'll be honest, man. I'm still blown away that this franchise exists in the first place half the time, because every time I look back, I'm just like, you know, it's weird. Dreams are weird. And imagine if you died in your dreams. What if someone was there to take you away in those dreams, you know, to actually kill you in those dreams? And what if that man had a hand with knives? Shit's weird, man. But you know what?
Wes Craven was a creative guy. So.
Yes, he was. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. I mean, he did this. He did Scream. And there was actually one of his later films that I think a lot of people overlooked. It's actually really damn good. Red Eye.
I never heard of that one, actually.
Dude, it's about a woman who is getting on a plane to go to her job, and all of a sudden, a man sits down next to her. Seems nice, man. Seems, you know, she actually met him earlier. They were actually boarding the plane together, and he helped her out and everything. And she's sitting there, and then she learns his name, and she finds out that, you know, he's a contractor, this and that. They find out that they're actually sitting next to each other. And then he pulls out his wallet to pay for a meal. And turns out, she notices that wallet, it's very familiar to her. She says it reminds her of her father's, and then the guy looks over and says, that's because it is. I was wondering when you were finally going to notice. If you want your father to live, you will do exactly as I say. Don't scream, don't do anything. If anything happens and this flight is stopped, he will die. Do you understand me? It's just like, holy shit. Where did that come from? It's a good movie, though. Really, really good movie. Very suspenseful.
I don't know, the concept just sounds like... It doesn't immediately grab me for some reason.
It didn't grab me either. I mean, hell, to me, Zombieland sounded fucking stupid.
No, Zombieland, when I saw the trailer, I was sold.
No,
I was like, hell yeah.
But explaining the concept to somebody, it's very difficult because it's a little more complex than your normal narrative.
I just tell people Zombieland is a zombie comedy, and it's really fucking good. It's one of the best ones.
But there's a lot of people out there who say zombie stuff is awesome, but zombies are, even now, even though we're in the post-age of The Walking Dead, there are still people out there who think zombies are niche and aren't that interesting. Well,
if you're not interested in zombies, then why would I recommend Zombieland to you?
I don't know. Why would I recommend a film that you find boring, even though I think it's good? I mean, it's because we like putting stuff out there. We're not hipsters, and we're not gonna try and protect these precious things that are mine that no one else knows about. No, I want people to experience that. Like, I want people to experience Red Eye, and I want people to experience shit like Mindhunters, which new season comes out tomorrow. That's actually dates the video for you right there. Anyway, Nightmare on Elm Street 5. I mean, what else is there to say other than Freddy's coming for you, and this will not be the last time he comes for you. Anyway, here we go.
Welcome to the Kill Count, where we tally up the victims in all our favorite horror movies. I'm James A. Janice, and today we're looking at A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, released in 1989. The Dream Child picks up a year after Alice defeated Freddy in The Dream Master and finds her still with Handsome Dan as they graduate high school together. But their year of peace comes to an end when Freddy's resurrected and starts killing again, somehow managing his massacres even while Alice is still awake. After The Dream Master took a break from exploring Freddy's backstory, The Dream Child returns to the Amanda Krueger storyline established in Dream Warriors and pretty much bases the entire movie around it. But with another revolving set of screenwriters and a super rushed production, the resulting movie is a gothic mess that continues to feature more weird dream visuals than interesting characters or a sensible storyline. And the Freddy Jr. part is just the cherry on this shit sundae. And hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the MPAA mercilessly cut down all the death scenes in this movie. Let's look at what they left and get to the kills. The movie begins with some sweaty blue body parts writhing around together. It's Alice and Dan, and when they're done bathing in the moonlight, Alice has to go rinse all that handsome off. But her post-coital hosing down gets treacherous when the shower fills up and almost drowns her. She only manages to escape by breaking through the wall of reality and launching her naked ass into dreamland, where, at the end of this dark and wet corridor, is the fabled 100 Maniacs of Hathaway House, which include a makeupless Robert Englund who's spiking that camera like it's a volleyball. Alice finds herself in a nun uniform with an Amanda Krueger name tag, and when the hospital orderlies peace out without finishing their count, she's swarmed and overcome by the unruly psych ward residents. Alice wakes up safely in bed with Handsome Dan by her side. Oh wait, did I say Handsome Dan? Because I meant Robert Englund wearing a potato sack. He jumps on her and pins her down in the bed until she throws him off and he disappears. Hell of a way to start your graduation day. That's right, it's time to, as Dan says,
blow this pop stand.
Graduating alongside Alice and Dan are all her new replacement friends, since, you know, everyone else died in the last movie. And who are the meatbags we've got for this one? Let's see, there's Greta, an aspiring model with an overbearing mother, Mark, a dude with questionable fashion sense who's apparently chasing after Greta by means of emotional erosion.
Oh, I think I'm starting to wear it down.
And Yvonne, who for some reason is both an all-star swimmer and works at a hospital. I think these latter movie nightmare characters just had their personality traits picked out of a hat. Alice's douchebag father is there too, apparently having given up drinking and being a dick, so all the parent-kid combos get a big group picture, as if the audience is supposed to care about any of this finger-knife fodder. Shit, man, we don't even see half these characters ever again. On her way to work, Alice sees the full jump rope ensemble, who at this point have just got to be doing a greatest hits tour. No way they're still pumping out new material. See? Nothing beats the classics. She follows them through some shrubbery until she finds Amanda Krueger at the steps of the asylum, which looks like a giant gothic castle here. Inside, Alice walks around, sees a crazy-looking baby carriage, and then falls into a fantasy where she's on a stretcher being pushed into a hospital room. But she fights back until she becomes an observer instead of a participant in this dream, and now she's watching Amanda Krueger on the stretcher as she gives birth to something that causes quite a stir.
That is no creature of God.
Oh, come on. I'm sure it's not that bad. Oh, God! Yeah, oh, okay. That is one nasty-looking alien baby thing. It first-person charges at Alice through a doorway, and she follows it right back into the chapel from the last movie. Between the repeat settings and characters and the tangled mess these movies call a plot, you're forgiven if you get Nightmares 3, 4, and 5 all mixed up in your head. It happens to me all the time. Nasty baby Freddy is in there, and he's trying to put on the red and green striped sweater. Aw, he thinks he's people. And when Alice tries to stop him, he throws a hissy fit that brings the whole church down. He finally wriggles into the sweater, and we get our Freddy resurrection for the movie. Then he slips on his love glove and makes some noise with it. Wait, what's up with that Slender Man arm? Are we sure that's the same old Freddy Krueger?
It's a boy!
Oh, yep, that's Freddy. He tells Alice he's found a way to live again while touching on her stomach, and then Amanda comes in, all nunned out, and scares Freddy by saying all sorts of crazy shit, like how his birth was one big mistake, how she's gonna kill him, how she's gotta be released from her earthly prison, how... Okay, good, she's gone now. And now Alice is back in that diner, which, yes, is called the Crave Inn as a reference to Wes. I missed that in my video last week, and a lot of you pointed it out in the comments, but you did so very politely, so thank you for that. She calls up Dan at the high school, where the recent grads are having a pool party thanks to Yvonne having the keys to the place, and tells him that Krueger somehow took over her reality while she was still awake.
He must have dreamt himself up, I don't know.
Dan runs off to see her, but he's not missing anything. These new characters are lame and just talk about their controlling parents and how Mark is anxious around blood, even though he draws comics that have plenty of the old ultra-violence. While driving, Dan gets sleepy and apparently conks out for a road nap since he starts hearing his mom on the radio complaining about his relationship with Alice. Then Freddy comes through the system and straps Dan in for a ride.
Put your pedal to the metal, Dan!
He drives him into oncoming traffic and then appears in the passenger seat to talk shit about Dan's choice of champagne.
Back you, Dan!
Freddy, you are wilding the fuck out, man. Did you just use champagne as acid to rip off your own arm? He sure did, and he sticks it on the truck before a tire blowout throws Dan through the windshield and into the swimming pool? Okay, Dream Child. He runs back outside and decides that 2 wheels are better than 4, so he takes off on that motorcycle.
He not only stuck it to the truck, he made a seatbelt out of it, I'm pretty sure.
He finds that he's a little more attached to this bike than he thought, since wires and cables start coming out and fusing with his body. Then Freddy pops up for another one-liner because he just never knows when enough is enough.
This boy feels the need for speed.
The cables continue fusing with Dan's body all over the place, including his precious handsome face, while Freddy screams
one of the
"Power
cool body
drive"
horror
and other dumb shit that my brain just tuned out.
kills, at least in the series.
Better not dream and drive.
Yeah, shit like that. Dan winds up looking like Sebastian Shaw Vader as his bike speeds down the road, but then we cut to Alice in the diner, so I guess maybe he's okay or something. Jesus Christ, what the fuck is that? Is he falling down a rectum? Nope, in real life he's just crashing into a truck, and Alice runs out to see his truck on fire in the middle of the road and Dan's dead body amidst the flaming wreckage. Or is he dead?
Alice, wanna make babies?
No, yeah, he's really dead. That was just a hallucination that makes Alice faint. She wakes up in the hospital and complains to Yvonne once again that Freddy has found a way to attack people outside of her dreams. Her asshole's anonymous father and a doctor tell her that Dan is dead, and that his replacement's already in the making because she's pregnant with this kid. She goes to sleep in the hospital and wakes up to that kid who annoyed Grant in Jurassic Park, who tells her his name is Jacob and that he's sorry her boyfriend's dead. Thanks, kid. I'm sure she wants to keep talking about that. He pieces out, and the next day, Yvonne tells Alice there weren't any kids anywhere near her hospital room. You know what that means? Ghost kid. Alice holds court with her friends and gives us our by now exhausting Freddy Krueger backstory from beginning to end, all the legal loopholes and vengeance arson included. Her friends are skeptical, of course, because that's how these movies go, but offer their empty support in the form of thoughts and prayers. And hugs. Greta's at a fancy dinner with her haughty-ass momager when she nods off at the table. Things get surreal fast. Chef Freddie Ramsey comes out and locks Greta in a high chair for some nom-noms.
Bon appetit, bitch.
He serves her some doll sushi and stuffs her mouth full of some glistening jiggly meat that turns out is her own body.
You are what you eat.
He keeps feeding it to her even though it's fucking wrong, until she ends up looking like the radiator lady from Eraserhead. Then he picks her up and holds her in a weird embrace. The kill has a short interlude where Alice sees the food in her fridge rotting like a time-lapse shot in Planet Earth, and then Greta's reaching out for help from the fridge. But Freddy's not gonna let this 5-star meal escape him, and he pulls her back, leaving a to-do list for Alice. Greta dies in real life by choking to death on food in front of the entire dinner party. Talk about spoiling an appetite. Alice goes to this warehouse because I guess Mark lives there in a back room decorated with all this comic artwork. He's finally starting to believe Alice about Freddy, and he whines about how his character, the Phantom Prowler, could have protected Greta. But when Alice steps out to make some coffee, Mark falls asleep, and she comes back to find some line work of the Elm Street house on his desk. Mark goes all aha and winds up in the drawing too, so Alice uses her elementary art skills to transport herself in front of the house as well, since that place is the reason we keep coming back to these movies, right everyone? We love the Elm Street house. She finds Mark on the floor, hanging onto the sphincter-looking edge of that rectum tunnel, and after she pulls him up out of there to safety, he sees some blood on his hand and faints, disappearing into the floor? What? Was Mark a ghost? No, but creepy ghost kid Jacob is back now, and he yells at Alice for not caring about being a mom. He runs away, she runs after him, and now she's back in Mark's bohemian warehouse room. I get that these movies are about dreams and that dreams have loosey-goosey spatial logic, but man, this one doesn't even try to make sense. Alice realizes that the Raptor kid is her unborn child, so she goes to the hospital that Yvonne works at, where she begins to discover how Freddy might be working his magic this time through.
Do unborn babies dream?
During an ultrasound, the doctor tells her that yes, a fetus may spend 70% or more of its time dreaming. So yeah, that's how Freddy's attacking people in this one, through the unborn baby's dreams. While the others aren't looking at the ultrasound, the static image gets weird, and then apparently spreads through Alice's body and wisps her into the computer. Now we're back in the tube? Man, I don't know what's going on here, I'm sorry. But here's a creepy looking fake baby with Freddy's face right behind it, that's fun. Freddy tells Alice that he's taking care of the unborn child's dietary needs.
Feeding time, soul food for my boy.
And Alice wakes up startled and tells Yvonne that Freddy is feeding her baby dead soul so he can make the baby like him. Obviously, that sounds like a big old pile of crazy talk, so after she leaves, the doctor calls Dan's parents, and they go to Alice's house and tell her that they want to adopt the baby and raise it as their own, arguing that she can't properly raise a child as long as she's running around talking about dream demons and shit. She refuses their offer and runs off to Mark's place, where they look at some research he found about Amanda Kruger. Sounds like Amanda Kruger hanged herself after Freddy's trial, but that her body wasn't found. That grave we saw in Dream Warriors was an empty plot with a memorial stone. Because of her suicide, side, her soul is trapped in its earthly resting place. Alice decides to go to sleep so she can find Amanda Kruger and get the juicy deets, and Mark agrees to stay awake and watch her. Good thing that plan's never gone wrong before. Yvonne, who still doesn't believe Alice or Mark about any of this Freddy stuff, goes to the pool to practice swimming, but that don't look like swim practice to me. Looks like you're falling asleep in a hot tub. When she finally does get out of the jacuzzi, swim coach Freddy has arrived to help her work on her form. First up on his practice schedule is high diving into an abyss. The diving board she's standing on cracks open into some Nightmare Before Christmas claws, which forces Yvonne to jump off the board and fall through the air towards the amazing disappearing pool, landing in a tiny little puddle with some pretty nice form, all things considered. Alice, who's been searching Dreamland for Amanda, gets rolled into a nasty little water-filled side room, out of which Freddy emerges, spurting water from his blowhole. He pulls Yvonne out of the watery depths, but Alice grabs a nearby pool skimmer and spears him through the mouth with it. They escape from Freddy, who's looking real freaked out. What's up with that?
He's scared to come in because of Amanda.
Oh, okay, so Amanda's right there then?
We have to find Amanda.
But in the real world, Mark finds a comic that he doesn't remember buying, but maybe that just means you have a serious eBay addiction, dude. He glances through the book, which features panels of everything that's happened in the movie so far, and when he reaches the end, he gets aha'd yet again, since that video was so damn popular, into a version of his room that's had the saturation turned all the way down. Freddy pops out, and oh my dear lord, Freddy Krueger's on a skateboard. Fuck, man, and I thought the sunglasses were bad. As he skates towards Mark, he swipes out some support beams, and the whole place falls down around him. Then Fred appears above Mark with a bloody Greta, who he throws down to smash into pieces as a doll on the floor. This pisses Mark off, and he becomes that comic character he was fantasizing about earlier, the Phantom Prowler.
Time to die, you scar-faced limp dick!
He shoots the shit out of Freddy, but it only puts him down temporarily, of course. Fred bounces back up in one of the few instances where someone other than Robert Englund plays the character, because this isn't just regular Freddy.
It's Super Freddy!
Super Freddy sucks. At least the kill's inventive. Mark becomes a 2D paper version of himself, and Freddy cuts him so deep all the color drains out. Then Fred just rips him to shreds. And although the decapitation in this kill got cut by those bastards at the MPAA, at least we get to watch Fred have a good time with all that Mark confetti. In the real world, Alice wakes up and sees that Mark has been crushed to death by his makeshift room collapsing on him. This is why we have building codes, folks. Yvonne shows up, now obviously believing in Kruger, and Alice tells her to go to the creepy old psych ward to find Amanda Kruger's body, so they can finally end this mess of a movie. Yvonne heads to the crazy composite castle of a hospital and searches through the hallways while Alice goes to sleep so she can walk around in the dream version of the same place. Freddy shows up and chases Alice down the hall by means of jump cuts, but then she charges him with that crazy baby carriage from the beginning and impales him on it, rolling him through the hallway and down a set of stairs until he's the guest of honor at a freaky inmate party. As Alice watches, they apparently
What they
rip
call
Freddy limb
soup
from
kitchen.
limb, but then his arm just turns into fucking spiders. Good God, Dream Child, make at least a little bit of sense. The Dream Child's all like, nah, we're just gonna do a Labyrinth-style MC Escher set piece instead. Oh, and Fred's arm is all wonky now. Anyone want to pump the brakes on this crazy train? Jacob takes Fred's hand, but Alice tells him, no, that's a bad man. So he runs away from him, and they have a nauseating upside-down chase sequence on these stairs. Hey, let's throw Dead Dan into the mix too. Fuck it. Yeah, we get a few weird shots of this sequence, including one just peering at Dan's crotch, and then we see that Dan is actually Freddy, because in upside-down Escherland, nothing needs to make sense. Alice and Jacob finally reunite, and when Freddy seemingly disappears, Jacob tells Alice that Freddy is hiding inside of her. So she screams a bunch and then starts turning into him? Or no, she's like throwing him up? Or is this like mitosis on Elm Street? Hey, remember Nancy Thompson and how good the movies were back then? Good times, man. Freddy just kind of cuts and kicks his way out of Alice's body, right as Yvonne crashes through a wall of the psych ward in the real world. Inside this new hidden room, she finds Amanda Kruger's body, but when she goes to touch it, we get a weird variation on the famous scene from Psycho. The empty habit slinks to the ground, and then Amanda Kruger shows up in Dream World, since now her spirit's at rest or whatever. She calls out to Jacob and tells him he needs to help Alice or she'll die. And then we get this awful part of the movie as Jacob tells Freddy he wants to be a baby Kruger now.
Let's go. I want to learn stuff from you. She's no fun anymore. Teach me.
Learn stuff from you? That little laugh? Why? Robert Englund reflects on how far off the rails this series has gotten, and with one last sloppy makeout with Alice, again, why? He steps towards Jacob to, I don't know, be his dad or something. But then Amanda tells Jacob to unleash his power, and Jacob does in the form of a giant tongue that comes out and impales Freddy. We get another crazy final Freddy sequence like in Dream Master, but this one just has the heads of Freddy's 3 victims from this movie extending out of his back and pulling him across the room until, oh, what the fuck, until they yank that nasty baby Freddy out of his back? As Alice picks up Jacob, who has now become a baby, Amanda picks up her demon hellspawn. Baby Freddy disappears in a flash of light, apparently reverting to be in utero, and then Jacob's like, that looks like fun stuff, let me try. And he does the same thing with Alice. As Amanda leaves the room, Freddy's claw busts out of her abdomen in an effort to escape, but a door slams shut and locks them inside the dream psych ward. The movie mercifully ends, with Alice, her dad, Yvonne, and newborn baby Jacob Daniel having a picnic in the park, as a jump rope girl performs ominously in the foreground. Holy shit, that mess of a movie is finally over. And spoiler alert, there weren't even that many kills.
Yeah,
Here, I'll show you the numbers.
that's why
Yeah,
I don't
nothing fun
really
from this
enjoy
one,
the
but fuck
movies
this
past
movie.
like the third one.
Oh,
Only 3 people died in
They get pretty
Child, the
ridiculous.
lowest of the Nightmare series and tied for the lowest of any kill count episode. The victims were 2 dudes and 1 lady, which is obviously a 2-to-1 male-heavy ratio. And with a runtime of 90 minutes, that's a kill on average every half hour. I'll give the Golden Chainsaw for coolest kill to Mark. Honestly, all 3
Yeah.
kills are pretty much equally cool, and the only reason I'm picking Mark's is because his is the most memorable to me. And for the first time on this series, there's not going to be a dull machete, because for all this movie's faults, the 3 kills it had were all pretty cool. So that's it. A Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, came out in the final year of our Lord's favorite decade, the 1980s, to both critical and box office apathy. Next week is the infamous Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare, and until that experience, I'm James A. Janice. This has been The Kill Count. Thanks a lot for watching The Kill Count for Nightmare 5, The Dream Child. I want to thank a couple of my patrons like Jane Ivis and Joey Volker. As I'm sure you might have noticed, I'm not a huge fan of The Dream Child. If you thought that was bad, just wait till next week when we do Freddy's Dead. It sounds silly to say, but make sure you're subscribed, like click that button over there. And if you're not doing anything else, might as well follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DeadMeatJames. In any case, I'll see you next week. Be good people.
Thank you, James. Very
thank
cool.
you, James, for suffering through that for us. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I rewatched that one recently. I actually rewatched like all of them recently, except for the first couple.
Yeah, and this is one I bet you had a very, very tough time getting through.
Yeah, it's like the kills in it, like you said, are very cool, but like I understand.
Overall, the film's terrible.
Like I kind of understand a little bit more like the nightmare stuff, like basically anything can happen, so there's a lot of room for creativity within a dream or a nightmare, especially when some evil entity is manipulating it to be what he wants.
Yeah.
But I like it more when there's at least some, I guess, some concrete things you can see that it would make sense for them to do, I guess. But instead, they just kind of just do whatever they want, you know.
Well, yeah.
And also, there's like parts where like it just goes kind of like from nightmare back into like reality
and
suddenly, and there's no real explanation as to why. And like I think in
it's
this one
not
it was
good.
supposed to be, it's like, you know, it's just the baby inside of her dreaming and then not dreaming, like the baby maybe woke up, I guess. But
Maybe.
it's
Weird. It's confusing.
yeah,
in all
it gets very
honesty.
messy and confusing in that one.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. Ugh. You know what?
It's just overall not as enjoyable of a movie as they
No.
were earlier in the series.
No, not good at all. And
and
I
the
don't really have
dialogue in
anything
this
else to
one,
say.
I can definitely say that the dialogue in this one was the worst dialogue out of any of them.
Well,
Like, I liked 1, 2, and 3's dialogue okay, you know, they were still cheesy 80s dialogue.
mm-hmm.
4 started to go downhill a little bit, and then this one got real bad.
Yeah, this, like I said, this is the one where people started to really
Let's blow
fall
this
out of
pop
love.
stand. Just like,
Jesus.
maybe that was cool in 89, but I doubt it.
Maybe in Canada. I don't think
Maybe.
anyone in America who's ever attempted to be cool has ever said that. I don't know. God. All right. Well, my brain needs to recover from that shit.
Even Freddy's one-liners in this were a little cringy.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't dream and drive.
if he had stuck with one per person, I would have let it go, but the fact that he kept just doing it over and over again while he was killing the one guy, I'm just like, all right, we get it.
Yeah,
We get it, Fred.
we get it. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing else to add on to this. My brain needs to recover. I need to move on from this. So,
Okay.
I guess until next time, everybody. Signing off. I'm Nate.
I'm Nick.
And if you want to see the original, link is in the description. Support Dead Meat and all that they do. And we'll see
Go
you then.
give James some love.
Yeah, go give James all the love because he deserves it. And I guess until then, we'll see you then. Peace out.